Howdy, folks. Happy Wednesday. Happy Stanley Cup playoff day. I believe it's 5 games tonight, 3 games on Thursday. We're going to do our predictions for all the series today, or try to do as many of them as we possibly can. We'll try to get through them all. I already made my predictions public, so it's not going to be exactly something that people are going to be waiting.
Well, they ignore you in public, which is possible.
I'm used to that. But we have a pre-show. Go ahead, Russ.
All right, so I saw something yesterday. This is really atrocious. And Mike's not going to care that much because Mike doesn't care about this subject. But I saw a crime against condiments yesterday, and that is
condiments are a crime.
No.
Oh, Mike, just go suck a buffalo wing.
Yeah, Mike, he's missing out on joys in life, but that's okay. But this one is Heinz has put out a Cadbury cream egg flavored mayonnaise.
Oh.
Now, if you want to just talk about, let's just forget about it's Easter, right? Take Easter off the board because this is going to outlive Easter because it's not going to sell. I'm just asking, as a reasonable human being, what sandwich could you possibly put that with that would make it okay? Peter?
Sorry, say that again.
Cadbury cream egg mayonnaise.
What sandwich could you put that on?
A sandwich I would eat.
No, that's like almost we're bordering into war crimes now. That's
right. Yeah. I agree.
That's just disgusting.
Well,
that's like using McDonald's McChicken mayonnaise on just anything.
Yeah,
it's awful.
Well, yeah. all I know is I was watching a baseball game on the weekend, and of course, as they usually do, they will pan into the crowd and show people eating or holding their kids or whatever. And it was in Baltimore, and somebody had a massive foot-long hot dog with so much relish, ketchup, and mustard that it was oozing out of the back end. And I'm like, I want to vomit. It's fucking gross. It's hot dog.
So you actually just cursed, Mike. I love it.
Great. R-rated, X-rated.
You can put that on.
I love a good condiment. You know what? I love a good. I think horseradish mayonnaise is a very sound condiment.
Mm-hmm.
I think mustard in all its forms and variations is very sound.
The only condiment
people who put ketchup on hot dogs are basically pagans and weird.
The only condiment I like is mayonnaise, and if it's garlic mayo or if it's some sriracha mayo or like that, okay.
And if you want to really kind of have some fun with it, maybe make it into an aioli or something, and that's great. That's good. But the idea of just sweetening up something just for the sake of sweetening it and then saying, well, this is applicable somewhere, because all you're doing, it's like chasing the dragon for heroin addicts. You're just chasing some sort of taste that has no practical context of any well-being in your life.
Well, let's ask the bigger question, Peter. The bigger question is, have people from a younger generation and us grown up on stuff that's so sweet? Like, I'm a freak, right? Most of the time I drink unsweetened iced tea. Now, I get it. Like, if I'm on the road, I may not be able to get that. Or if I'm in a restaurant, I may not be able to get that. So once in a while I drink sweetened, no problem. But every day I'm drinking unsweetened. But I'm wondering if this other generation does like things way sweeter than we're ever used to.
Yeah. Well, they say diabetes.
Oh, absolutely.
They say diabetes is running rampant in millennials.
You know what? What was the line from the movie the Usual Suspects? The biggest the biggest con he ever played was believing it was real. The biggest con job in the history of foods was the sugar industry convincing people that fat was bad. And that's where everything went off. And you know what? Just on that note, I want to just say to my good American friends, Russ and Mike, and all the other American viewers out there, the biggest con job ever played on Canadians was calling your iced tea, because every time I go down there and get it, it's never sweetened. And it throws me off each time.
Right. And then when we go to Canada, it's only sweetened. Or if you go to anywhere else, like down south, it's only sweetened. It's really the Northeast that it's unsweetened.
Yeah, well, when you go into a fast food place, everybody asks now for sweet tea. They don't say iced tea; they say sweet tea.
Yeah, see, I don't. I had sweet tea for my road trip to Mike. That's just so I don't fall asleep and die on the road. But I don't drink sweet tea for the most part because, again, once you say it's sweet tea, it's usually way too sweet for me.
Okay, here's the biggest con. Then we'll start the show. The Coke and Pepsi going, zero Coke Zero or zero sugar. It's just the rebranding of Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, and anybody like I would love to have a Coke that doesn't have any sugar that actually tastes good, but aspartame and NutraSweet are disgusting, and I would rather die in a diabetic coma than to drink that crap or drink water, which I do.
Hang on. You'd rather live shorter but a more comfortable life with diabetes than you would by just getting cancer and dying from aspartame. That's the value proposition.
I'm being over the top here, Peter. I'm just saying.
No, you're absolutely right. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just making sure people understand your life choices.
But in the 1920s up to like the 50s, you would have walked up to a soda jerk like Mike, or just a jerk, however you want to put it, and you would say, give me like a cola. And what they would have done was they would have just put the cola syrup in with seltzer, but then you have no sugar. And then it would be like, oh, you know what?
It's bitter. It's terrible.
It needs a little something. It does.
And the only compromise is like there's a Coca-Cola Life, which is the green can Coca-Cola. Which
I've never actually seen that in the real world.
It's out there. But they, of course, they don't sell it in 2-liter bottles. They don't sell it in 20-ounce bottles. They only sell it in those refrigerator boxes of 12 cans.
Okay.
And it's a regular can of Coke is 210 calories or something like that. This can is 90 calories, and it's cane sugar and stevia, and stevia is sweeter than sugar.
Yeah,
so it's sickly sweet. So I mean, if they could ever find the balance of a non-sugar sweetener to make the pop taste as regular Coke does, then they would corner the market. But right now, it's all.
I still don't understand how we could grow up in the same state and you call something pop and I call it soda. Like, states should get it together and know, like, there should be one thing statewide for each state what you call it.
Yeah, but come on. Long Island and New York City and the rest of New York are two completely different countries.
They are, but they're still in the same state. You still got to – actually, all right, so here's how you know if it's the same state or not. Boomer Esiason tweeted out the other day, and this is something I don't miss from Long Island. Even people from Queens have to still get their, like, all their motor vehicle stuff on Long Island, and it's in a place called Mineola. You go there, and if you don't get there right at like 8:58, there is like 100 people that just pile in. And Boomer took a picture, and it looked like court, and it looked like a night court, and the place was just jammed. Is Buffalo easy to get a driver's license, or is it crowded?
I mean, on like a Saturday morning, the DMV, the line is around the block.
So it is almost the same thing. Here in Jersey, I can walk in almost any day of the week and get it in about 15 minutes.
Yeah, but nobody lives in Jersey. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Wednesday, April 10th, 2019.
I'm Peter Tessier in the whiteout of Winnipeg, literally.
Oh, wow, that's horrible. I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology. I won't talk about the weather. You don't want to know.
No, it's actually sunny and beautiful. And I was just out with friends for lunch, and it was nice and it's gorgeous. But it's whiteout. It's playoffs.
And,
by the way, I think Fargo
it's
like 16 inches of snow right now.
Okay,
I'm Fargo is getting dumped on.
What is going on?
I'm Michael Jello.
Wait.
No, we did the intro act, so you're.
Wow. And I'm Eklund. You're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday in the afternoons or mornings, depending on where you live or what time zone you're in. So you know the comings and goings in the hockey world. And it's playoff time, kids. And we got a lot to get into. But let's first talk about the draft lottery, shall we?
Right. And now I know that a lot of people were celebrating the fact that Colorado did not get it, including Peter, that Colorado did not get the number 1 pick. And it turned out to be a good day for Pierre Dorion, because if Colorado would have been, I think he would have been excoriated by his fan base. Now he's still going to get heat for that trade, but now getting Brady Tkachuk and only giving up the number 4 pick makes them look a little better. But the New Jersey Devils get the first pick in the draft lottery. The New York Rangers, Russ, get number 2, and Chicago moves up, I think, from 14 to number 3. Now we know that 1-2 either way is going to be Hughes and Capo Caco. The question I got from a bunch of people is, who's number 3?
I mean, it's really going to be up for grabs. I mean, right now, number 3 is very much up for grabs. There are some people that say Bowen Byram, a defenseman. There's some people that say Dylan Cousins. There are other people that will go Vasily Podkolzin, or there's me who says Alex Turcotte. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of differing opinions for a while, and it might go straight through the playoffs. It might go straight through the combine.
Yeah.
And that's why I always tell people this. I only put out a list of 12 yesterday, and I'll be honest why I did it. I've already been working on it, but people started asking me, and I don't like to necessarily send web traffic somewhere else. So I said, you know what? I'm going to put out a list of 12, so that covers all the Flyers fans too. And I was right, because it got up to 11 for them. But a couple things. So Paul Castron may be the lucky charm for the Devils, because he took over, as the director of scouting when they drafted Zacha. Then they got Hischier, and now they're going to get Hughes. And so if people want to start writing, and I'm sure they will, well, maybe the Devils, because they went with Hischier over Patrick, they'll go for Kakko over Hughes. The Rangers would love that. They'd be so happy if they did that. But either guy's a franchise guy. So I don't think it's even a conversation. I think that's the way it's going to roll. The Ranger thing was interesting, because I really did have a feeling they would get the number 1. They got the number 2, which is the most they've gotten in the modern era. Like Mike and I knew they had Brad Park, but that was 66, right? I mean, that's a long time ago. So this is great for them, because Kakko really will play right away. He's playing in Liga, and there's a transfer agreement, so there's no problem getting him over to the NHL. He's a terrific talent. Now, the thing,
but he would have to make the Rangers if they want, like, either he goes. He's not going to go to the American League if he doesn't. No. Go back to the Liga.
Yeah, because he still has another year on his deal.
Right.
He sounds like he can play right away, right?
Yeah, he's gonna play right away. The question is where, because he had been talking about possibly playing center, and I know they're going to try him out at center at the under-18s. If he's a center, that makes him even more attractive. So we'll see how that part works out. But from now until the end of the till the draft, we're going to hear all kinds of craziness. Like, you're going to hear things that are not true. Like, I'll tell you one thing I heard today that's totally not true. Well, after the second pick, there's a huge drop-off in this draft. No, there's another level, but it's not a huge drop-off. Like, the number 3 player you get will be a really good player, an all-star quality player. So I just, there's things that we're going to hear now, because the metro area got all this, and now everybody had to sort of get up to speed on prospects in the last 12 hours. So, let's just say the reporting's not been great. That's all.
Yeah, well, I mean, there aren't that many, besides you guys out there, and you and there's the others at Hot Prospect Radio and all that. I mean, there aren't that many good people out there.
There's a handful of us, but now everybody will be an expert, so that's okay.
Yeah, I won't. I promise you.
Now, just one thing, and then we'll go into the playoffs.
Yep.
A lot of people were complaining about, a team like LA, who finished 30th, falling 3 picks. A team like Detroit, I think they slipped a couple picks. A team like Buffalo, who was 5th, now they're drafting 7th, because 2 teams that were lower down got moved up. And I know we mentioned about this yesterday a bit. Brian Burke was on Sportsnet, Hockey. I don't know if it was Hockey Central or just one of their other shows this morning, and talking about they should go back to the bottom 5 teams being the only ones that have the chance to draft first overall, and then basically, if you get a first overall pick, not having the right to draft first overall for 3 years. I think that's a little.
That's too much. Let's look. The biggest amount of whining I saw last night came from a city that this Buzzcast knows well, the city of brotherly love. it was incredible the level of hot takes coming out of Flyers fans about the injustice of having 3 division rivals all move up and get the top 3 picks. Well, or Chicago was one, right?
Yeah, 2.
Okay, but moving on. I mean, the level of hyperbole is nuts. Let's just end this right here, because the whole point, the way the draft operates is this. It is to discourage teams from tanking, so that there is no guaranteed reward. Once you accept that, and you can't not accept it, because that's how it's designed. So if you're trying to think it's for some other reason, you get lost. You're done. Once you've accepted that, and once you've moved on, take it into salvation, understand it.
Mm-hmm.
The reason this exists, it is going to allow crazy movement like this, which is the new interesting thing, because otherwise you might see the Oilers win again.
Yeah. And you know
why?
And you know
the Oiler rule.
You know what, Flyers fans? If you want to express your dissatisfaction and your ire, aim it right at your team's management, because all they did was screw. They were last in the Eastern Conference and second last in the standings in December. And what did they do? They said, let's try to salvage the season. Let's call up.
They missed by one game.
Same short-term memory loss.
They missed by one game. If they beat Carolina, they would have had the 3rd pick overall in the draft.
But here's the thing. They forget they had this advantage when they got Nolan Patrick. So crying freaking over.
Sure.
You want to hear about hardship?
Now here's the
let me tell you one thing about hardship. You guys probably didn't see this. This is the 4th consecutive year that the Canucks were 1 number away from the first overall pick.
Yeah, and it's the 2nd year that Colorado got dropped from 1st to 4th. Too.
So people get screwed left, right, and center.
They do, but you know what I was going to say, as far as then the biggest crying that does go on in Philly is, hey, Van Riemsdyk was the 2nd pick. Patrick was the 2nd pick. Although Patrick, I still think, will be better than Hischier over time, and he's starting to show it. But unfortunately, that Patrick draft's not as good as this one in the top 2. And that's just the way the draft rolls sometimes.
Exactly, Russ. Exactly.
Now, I know that people in Buffalo are, they're complaining that they have the 7th pick, and and Russ, we'll talk about this from now until late June when the draft happens. But the overview right now is that this draft is maybe comparable to 2014. That it's good at the top with guys like Ekblad and Reinhart and Draisaitl, and then it drops off. I mean, honestly, 2014, you had Nylander, you had Nick Ritchie, and you had Pasternak in the 20s, so and Ehlers as well. So I don't think that was that bad of a draft. It just took a little.
I'll sum it up in one sentence, okay? And remember, minor rankings, it has no bearing on where teams might pick somebody. But let's say somebody picks Cole Caulfield, who's somewhere between 6 and 9. He's the all-time goal leader for the NTDP. I think he's got 54 goals this year.
Right.
Are you honestly trying to tell me that would be a bad pick for Buffalo? Is there a way to tell me that?
Yeah, no, the reality of the NHL, the reality of hockey and sports in general is overall it gets better every year. So if you were to take it 2nd, 3rd, 4th round picks, the talent gets better every year. There's
what gets better every year? You're right. The 2nd round gets better every year, and soon the 3rd round gets better.
Development of better test, better nutrition, better skills, more players playing year round, more players learning at higher levels, more countries playing. It's just crazy. I mean, it just continually will always get better. And yes, the top 3 or 4 can be variable or whatever from year to year as far as how good they are, but the overall is better every year.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, that is very, very true.
It's just the way it goes, right? So and it's just the way it happens. And and I don't the whole
I'm gonna
Flyers didn't. I mean, like I said jokingly, but honestly, if the Flyers win that last game against Carolina, they finish where Chicago is, and they get the 3rd round pick overall. So they get the 3rd pick overall. So just let's not talk about whether they should have won or they should have lost or whatever for percentages. I'd rather have been Chicago than them, and Chicago had 2 more points than them. So
I'll give you a good example. So my first draft was the 0-1 draft, and Stephen Weiss went 4th overall to Florida, thought to be a very, very good pick.
Yeah.
He had a nice NHL career, 13 years. He was about a half a point a game. anybody who you take fourth in this draft will dwarf what Stephen Weiss did.
Yeah.
That is just the reality of the way the hockey game is now, speed-wise, skill-wise. That's what's happened from 01 until today. That's just a normal.
The misses are not as big. That's what it is.
Yeah,
right now, and overall, the players are getting better. I mean,
the players that come into the NHL, the NHL has a weird sort of talent gap. That's probably, and Russ, you'll probably be able to expand on this. It's probably closer to baseball than it is in the other sort of two big sports of football and basketball. Like, you can literally draft in your 6 rounds of football 6 players who will start for your team. Yeah. Like, that's how well prepared those guys are coming out of college. Like, they're that
stronger and
well prepared, and they're
physically.
They're 21 or 22 years.
Yeah, exactly. Basketball, you will get guys on your roster in the first round.
Right.
A percentage, not everybody.
Not everybody, but the difference in basketball is the rosters are small.
Right.
Okay. Baseball is completely different.
Right.
And it requires a lot of playing time. It requires a huge development system. You've got tiers of development, AA, AAA, all these different things. And that's what hockey is more like. And what's happening is that the top of the cream of the crop in the NHL is starting to become physically better. They're taking they're finding the players who are best suited to play and understand the game, not looking for projects, right? And I think we're seeing a changing of how teams look at what they're drafting, not thinking, well, we've got to mold this guy by doing this 3 years of work with him. No, they're looking at things a different way. And I see that more as how baseball looks at it.
Yeah. The one thing I'll add to it is nowadays with guys, nobody's trying to do the hit or miss home run in the first round. They let that guy drop, and usually they get him in the middle of second, early third. That's what usually happens in the modern day draft. As far as the baseball analogy part, what we are starting to see is, as an example with goalies, they need to see a certain amount of rubber. It's just the way it is. Until they see that in their life, they're just not going to be complete. Nobody walks in with 75, 100 games of just that's all they've ever played and walk into the NHL. It doesn't work that way. And we're also seeing it for players. Now, there always has been for baseball a certain amount of at-bats that teams felt like a guy needed to see. And it used to be it was 750, 1,000, I forget, maybe even 1,500. There was a certain number, and I think they still, to a degree, stick to that. And I think they're starting to figure that out for hockey, like how many games a guy needs to play, how many games a goalie needs to start. So I think that's something where in the next couple of years we're going to start seeing that. When they pin that down, then the percentages will go up as far as third rounders making it, fourth rounders making it.
Exactly. Shot volumes the goalies face, minutes in certain situations. Absolutely.
Makes total sense. We'll get into this a lot more as the weeks come on. Let's talk about let's get into some predictions because we have 5 games to get to tonight.
Yeah, but let's start with the West games because Peter may have to bow out early, and I wanted to.
We're going to do that. We will start with the West, and let's start right off the bat. Let's start with the Jets and the Blues. Let's just get right into it, Peter.
As I finish off my blog, you consider all the different things that have come to light about the Jets: dressing room problems, infighting was the word used on the radio today. The injury to Tanev, the return of Morrissey. The biggest thing that's going to affect the Jets in the series is the aspect of overcoming all this mental stuff that's gone on around them for the last 3 months and peaking in the last week. It's trying to decide if they really can put it behind them. If they do, and they do one thing differently that they haven't been able to do with consistency, which is take away space and time from the opposition, they'll win in 6. If they don't do that, it's the Blues series to win.
Yeah, I don't think there is a team that can upset either team, and I don't think there is an upset in this series. Put it that way. I think
I don't think it is.
It's too close. I mean, they're points. They're mere like 1 point apart or 2 points apart, whatever. It's craziness.
Right.
I mean, yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, the one thing I'll say, Peter, to kind of go along with it, there is something that happens sometimes in sports where a team has a team comes together after the craziness of the season, like it just happened. You've seen it many times. Like I always, not to use baseball, but you remember like the baseball reference of the Phillies of '90, whatever. The terrible situations that 93, where they fought and there was all kinds of craziness and people were getting arrested and everything like that. And for whatever reason, there's a way of playing that does work for people.
I mean, nobody remembers Joe Carter hitting the series-winning homer against the Phillies and the Phillies going home losing and Mitch Williams having to move from the city. Really, nobody remembers that. You're right.
Yeah, no one remembers that. But I'm just saying that, that it's funny how you just see, you'll see like a team put out a video, triumph and tragedy or whatever. There's all these, it's constant that we see this kind of stuff. That
Russ, I've never seen that video before.
I mean, when a team struggles with this kind of stuff, with the kind of stuff that's happened in Winnipeg, like ridiculousness of Patrick Laine, that doesn't make any sense. Like that just doesn't. The things like that, it can just turn on in the playoffs.
Well, I think it can be obviously there's a lot of distraction. There's a lot of things going on in Winnipeg when it comes to contracts and how much it's going to cost for Laine and how much it's going to cost for Connor and all these things. And now you have one focal point. The playoffs are starting, and you all need to sort of get in line and get things done. And I look at, I freely admit that the Blues' second half was incredibly impressive. There's an echo going on here. Does somebody have the player going on in the background?
No,
I don't hear it.
All right, but I think that Winnipeg is the more talented of the two teams. Binnington has salvaged the St. Louis season, but I still think that Winnipeg is more talented and deeper, and Hellebuck will benefit from that run last year. So my prediction was Winnipeg in 6 games.
I want to say this without upsetting the sensibilities of Peter, because he's a good friend. Fans and media just love drama in Winnipeg. Maybe because it's cold out and the coffee sucks. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But it's like they want something and they want the juice and they want to and they love everything about it.
And Ottawa, these smaller cities.
They just love every little detail. Yeah. I mean, there's details we never even see or hear about with reporters, guys pushing and shoving all the time, because hockey is one of those sports where tempers bubble over, even in practice. We know that.
It's the exposure of Central Standard Time. But what I was surprised at, tweets coming out from Binnington from years back. I mean, this kind of pre-series.
Yeah, I mean that's a little bit rough. Come on, look.
So those tweets came out from the Gackle report, and we all know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
And he dug them out, and then they got a hold of it, and then the Winnipeg Free Press put it out last night, and the sports editor actually had to go into the comment section and reply about it. It was such a bad move. And I know, talking to a couple people at the Free Press, they were like, why?
No,
if I was 17 years old, right, on Twitter back in the day, I'm pretty sure Bob Clark would never walk by me and smile. I'm pretty sure Billy Smith would kick me in the balls if he saw me. Like, I could only imagine the stuff that I would have tweeted out just because I could.
Oh, so, yeah, no, that was before people realized that stuff was forever, and
right.
now these athletes are really, and there's actually people coming to my daughter's school to teach them the importance of not saying stupid stuff in social media. It's like it's really changed a lot. But yeah, anything from 5 or 6 years ago, just like that's not.
I mean, that's kind of rough. I will say, just because we're doing the picks and I want to keep it rolling here, I got to find my thing because I'll forget. I took the Jets in 7 simply because I did feel like there is going to be some good goaltending coming out of St. Louis, good defense. I think they'll steal a couple games. I think the Jets might blow a game or two with their bad D-zone coverage that I've been seeing the last 3-4 games that I've watched. But in the end, I think Hellebuck will actually carry them through.
Yeah, I went with the Blues in 7, but just honestly, it's so tight. It's one of those like toss-ups to me. The Blues have a little bit of that destiny feel to them,
but they do have some injuries. Bozak is injured.
The injuries are part of the.
Parayko was injured. I don't know if they can play. So those are significant. Those are significant losses.
I mean, you definitely have all kinds of things going on there between the two teams. you got the team of destiny versus a team that's in shambles. There's a lot. It's going to be interesting, and a lot of it. So much, like I'll say about a lot of these series, so much of it comes down to game one because this can set a tone. Like a big time. Like the first 2 games of a series in the first round tend to be very, very important. Because this is a new season, and then how are you going to be in that season? You're going to be a good team or a bad team, and basically it comes out to this. If you see Winnipeg come out tonight and just roll, then they could get confidence, and they could be trouble in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
Another game tonight in the Western Conference would be Nashville and Dallas.
Boy, this is going to be a good one. I think people are going to be surprised. It'll be closer than they think because we did all underrate Dallas a little bit the last few weeks, the way their defense has played. Although we are all going to worry about Ben Bishop too. We are.
Yeah, and the other thing, when I was looking at the games when they played against each other this year, Pekka Rinne was terrible against the Stars, and that's this. He has to be very good. I mean, the Predators' issue here, like I've said always, power plays and goaltending. The Predators are the worst power play in the NHL, and if Rinne isn't good, they're done. I mean, they just have to. They have to get.
Is there a scenario where UC Saros could possibly ever come in?
Yeah, I really think there is. I mean, this is Peter Laviolette we're talking about here. And we've seen what he does when goalies. I mean, Saros was good enough this year. Rinne was a big problem last year. Yeah, if Rinne doesn't have a good first game, even I wouldn't be shocked at all if Saros came in the second game.
Okay.
There's Laviolette doesn't have one issue with doing that, as we know, and I think he gave Rinne a lot of respect the last couple of years in the playoffs, but. Last year, they could make that change, and it might be the best league for him, honestly.
The only thing I'm concerned about with Dallas, I mean, defensively they've really revamped themselves under Montgomery, is the fact that A, Bishop's had some injury problems, and B, if you look at their scoring, it's basically 3 guys. It's Klingberg on defense, and it's Radulov and Sagan. And if you can shut them down, I mean, Ben had a terrible year. They don't really have a lot of secondary offense. Spezza is getting old. Nikushkin scored no goals this season. So, or if he scored, I mean, it was no goals through like last week. So if he scored one late,
remember ISS once had him ranked number 1 in the draft, and I blew a gasket on Twitter, and he has no goals, which is.
No goals and no penalty minutes.
That is an astonishing thing. And he's not the only. There's 2 players who've done that. The other is man,
it is
really funny. I'll think of him, but another really half decent player who when you have no goals and no penalty minutes in the NHL, you literally are trying not to succeed. I mean, that's like to me, it's impossible to be playing on a team that at least has a couple stars on it that not get a secondary crazy assist somewhere, or to at least try and get to.
Well, no, he didn't have any assists. He has no goals.
I know, but or at least get a goal off your back, or or go after a puck battle and pull someone down accidentally. There's something that has to happen there. To me, you're not showing any battle at all if you're not getting any penalty minutes.
But the point I was making regarding that is the fact that, and I know this because. I followed Nashville closely last year because like everybody else, or most everybody out there, I was in a playoff hockey pool, and I picked a lot of Nashville players last year. And Nashville, even their top lines, just didn't score. And I don't think that's really changed this year. If you look at their offensive totals, they're very good defensively. Their defense is great with Subban and Yossi and Ekholm and Ellis. Rinne, even at 37 or 38 years old, is still a really good goaltender. But even with the forwards that they have, they didn't generate a ton of offense. Johansson had an okay year. Forsberg was out for a while. They get Wayne Simmons at the deadline. They get Granlund at the deadline. They really didn't do a lot. I think they have enough offense to beat Dallas because Dallas is similarly offensively challenged, and it's just weird to say that. But I think it'll be 6 games. But I don't know about Nashville deep because I don't know whether they have the offensive ability to shut down a Winnipeg or a San Jose or a Vegas.
Well, here's the thing about the Predators and, Peter Laviolette teams in general that we've seen is that they get on rolls one way or the other.
True.
If the Preds win this series, just like when they swept the Blackhawks. I mean, remember how bad the Preds were playing going into the playoffs in that series against the Blackhawks? I was so pissed off because the Preds kept losing games and they ended up having to play the Blackhawks in the first round. And I'm like, they're so screwed, and then they end up in the Stanley Cup Finals. I mean, they were terrible down the stretch, but they got on a roll. Laviolette is very good at rolling teams, and if a team goes with momentum, he's really good with it. The question is, can they get that momentum going? And you're right about the scoring. The scoring has actually been worse than usual. Johansson has half the amount of points that Kucherov doesn't even have half the points Kucherov have. Now, granted, a lot of people don't have, but he's in the 60s. I mean, they're leading scorers in the 60s. Think about that.
Yeah.
PK Subban has played the whole year, obviously hurt. Like he's playing at like 70% tops. That's what you see, and I think we all saw that last night when we were forced to watch the previews of all the playoff series last night.
They were just, I mean, it was like being strapped into a chair and getting like electroshock.
Right. Can we discuss this for just 1 second? Because like if you're watching CNN and some like the 25th presidential candidate is giving a town hall, they'll have a little countdown thing 5 days ahead of time in the corner. Did they not tell us what was going on the NBC? Like I'm watching the things, and I'm like, is it on the NHL Network? Is it on NBCSN?
I watched it on Sportsnet. I watched.
Yeah, there was some like car show thing on.
Oh, that car show is the worst.
Oh my god! And I'm like, there's just showing like engine blocks. I'm like, I don't give a crap about this.
But they should at least have 25 minutes till the draft or something.
I did try and update people on Twitter, saying you still got a half hour to go. Here's the weird thing about that car show. A Ferrari sold for the same price as a Mustang. Like, I don't know who got ripped off. Like, I don't even see how a Mustang could sell for like almost $80,000. Like, it doesn't even make sense to me.
Oh, man. You're right. All right. So my pick for this anyway, getting back to this series, I do think Nashville in 6. I think the Predators are going to get it together. I would not be surprised, though, if Saros is the goalie by the end of the series.
Yeah, I've got the same thing.
Yeah, I had Nashville in 6.
Okay, so all three of us have that. All right, moving on to Vegas and San Jose, which might be I put as the second hardest series to predict in the NHL this year.
Vegas. It's I mean, I could see both of these teams making long runs, and I could see both of them losing in the first round. It's such a sort of topsy-turvy series, and I think you look at Vegas, you look at the fact that they have that number 1 or maybe call it number 2 line with the veteran guys with Pacioretty, Stone, and Stastny, and if Fleury is healthy, that's going to be really tough because he carried that team through the playoffs last year. I just think San Jose, remember when we had Kevin on the show and we were talking about Calgary and San Jose with their goaltending, and he's like, well, at least, Martin Jones got them to a Stanley Cup final. But Martin Jones leading into the playoffs that year played pretty well. He was an under 900 save percentage this year, and a lot of people think that that's the Achilles heel of the Sharks. Other than that, they got Carlson back. Their defense is great in terms of generating offense. They have experienced forwards, and they got some young guys too. The health status of Timo Meier might be a little bit in question. I know he's injured coming into the playoffs.
That's a big one.
But I think he's going to play. But I think that the magic will not be there 2 years in a row for Vegas, and I'm taking San Jose in 6 games. I think San Jose is going to be in the Western Conference Final. What I think, but they could probably get eliminated in 4 games. Like I think I said, somebody last year was going to make the Western Conference Final. They got
you have not obviously been around this show very long, Mike, to know like the risk of going with San Jose in a situation like that. How many years have I gone with San Jose and said the same exact thing you just said there? I mean, I love the Sharks. They're one of my favorite teams, and oh my gosh.
I'm going with the Sharks in 7 because, well, for one thing, just to know, if you're in a dire situation with a shark, you punch it in the nose. There's no cartilage in the shark's nose. Everybody knows that. But getting back to the team, I think the biggest lost leader is everybody worrying about or crutching about Martin Jones, what he did in the regular season. Who cares? This is the playoffs now. Erik Karlsson's back. That will help Martin Jones. I like everything else San Jose has to offer, but I picked San Jose in 7 because they're the Sharks. They should win this earlier, but they won't because they're the Sharks.
Land Shark.
I mean, the weird thing about this team is like the Vegas Knights, they look, whenever I watch them play, they look amazing. For some reason, I don't know what it is. It's just like I should watch them. If you're a Vegas fan, you want me to watch them because they're dominant when I watch Vegas play. And this is the same team that went to the Stanley Cup Finals, but they added a first line on top of everything else, which is really kind of crazy. Like this team should be very good. I mean, this has every
defense. Their defense isn't great.
Their defense wasn't great before. It isn't great now. I mean, they depend on Fleury.
It's a year later. It's not great now. Like they had mojo a year ago. This defense has no mojo at all. And when you start matching up,
yeah, no, that's true.
The Sharks could really take advantage of their defense. It's gonna, there'll be a couple of lopsided games here if the Sharks are on their game.
But here's the thing with all that. It all depends on. It sounds obvious to say depends on the goaltending in the Sharks, but it's not. It's not. I'm not even talking about the goaltending itself, but it depends on the confidence the Sharks players have in their goaltending. Because if the Sharks have confidence in Martin Jones and are willing to take chances and rush the Knights, then they will win the series very easily, like 5 or 6 games. But if they don't have confidence in Jones and have to play like with one guy back a little bit further or not quite as aggressively because they know that the Knights are a quick strike team and can get you, and the Knights love when teams come at them. Because the Knights are a counterattack team all the way, and the playoffs often come down to attack versus counterattack. We've talked about that before. This is an attacking Sharks team and a counterattacking Vegas team. Mm-hmm. But and it's a clear as day thing. And
William Karlsson's not the same William Karlsson.
No, he's not.
They do have Mark Stone. They did add Mark Stone, which is a great help.
I mean, that's a great ad. Pacioretty is a great ad.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a great ad. I mean, those 3 players are all they're top line.
They spent $22 million a year to add a line like Stastny, Pacioretty, and Stone.
They added a top line. What other team what team in recent history went to the Stanley Cup Finals and then added a top line in the offseason? I mean, that's a crazy thing.
Right, but the problem is, and Russ is right, the problem is that their defense didn't get better. Right. And their defense really is one guy, Marc-Andre Fleury. And if he stands on his head like he did last year, then it's very possible they make a long run. But I don't know if he can do it 2 years in a row. I know he's coming off some sort of injury. I don't think they send him away for 2 weeks to get rest. He was nursing something, and they're going to need him probably to stop 35 to 40 shots a night.
You remember this series last year? Fleury, this was the series that Fleury totally won. I mean, there were other series that Fleury won, but this particular series, Fleury really won this series. I mean, he was crazy good, and if he's crazy good again, and suddenly the Sharks are starting to doubt. And if Vegas counters with quick strikes and scores goals when San Jose is out shooting them 10-2, 10-3, but Vegas is up 1-0, that's what I think is going to happen. That's why I'm picking Vegas in 6.
Yeah, he was the difference maker in all 3 series.
I'm sure he was, but in this one,
Joe Thornton's going to play like it's his last series. That's going to help the Sharks. There's Joe Pavelski doesn't know if there's any tomorrow with the Sharks, even though we all think there is. He's going to play that way. I think the Sharks are going to play like their hair is on fire. I do.
They might. Let's go to Cal. So I have Vegas in 6. You guys both picked the Sharks, right?
Yeah, I had San Jose in 6. Russ had San Jose in 7.
Right.
Okay. All right. Finally, go to Calgary, Colorado, which is a series that this is every year. There's one series where everybody loves the underdog, and this is the series where everybody loves the underdog.
Well, let me just say this: the Calgary Flames could be the most vulnerable top seed in recent memory in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I mean, their offense is great. Their forward complement is really, really good. I like them. I love their defense. Giordano, Brody, Hannafin. It's a really good team. If they only had a goaltender that I could trust, I would pick them to go to the Stanley Cup final, but they don't. And it's like, are they starting Rittich or are they starting Smith? I still haven't heard anything.
I'm looking. I can't find it.
Right. I think
I think they're starting Smith. And if they're starting Smith, the reason they're starting Smith is based solely on him being a veteran and him being a great puck handler to help out the defense. But he's not the Mike Smith of 4 or 5 years ago. He's not the Mike Smith that got Arizona to the conference final. So this is a aging average Mike Smith. And if they go to him and he doesn't play well, then they go to Rittich, who has no playoff experience. So that being said, Colorado, I think, is not, they're a one-line team. It's going to be tough to stop that one line. Rantanen's coming off an injury.
Unless
Varlamov stands on his head, I think the Flames will get through the first round. I had the Flames in 7. The Flames in 7 games.
I have the Avalanche in 6, and I'll tell you a few things. I'll go against what Mike said. I think they're more than a one-line team because they do have some guys with playoff experience. Matt Calvert's a good one. Mm-hmm. Matt Calvert will score some playoff goals for them, I do believe.
Derek Brassard.
Yeah, Derek Brassard could score a few goals for them. I go down the list. I mean, JT Comfort had a really nice year. He had 16 goals, 16 assists. He will score some goals. Like, I think they do have some other guys that will kick in that will surprise people. I think they have the better goalie. I look at this series and I kind of wonder if every couple of games we're going to see a goalie change. I don't know if it's the biggest.
That can happen on either side too, by the way.
Well, not as much. Varlamov would really have to do poorly for him to get pulled. I think it would take longer for him to get pulled than for whoever started.
It would, but it's possible, I think.
I mean, but the idea, look, last year I know Washington did it, but Washington was rewarding Grubauer. They weren't necessarily taking away from Holtby because they started Grubauer. This, with Calgary, I honestly don't think they have a good handle on who is the better goalie. I really don't. And one of them will start, and they better hope they get a good effort because it's going to be tough.
The interesting thing about these two teams, when they play each other over the last 2 years, the winning team averages 5.5 goals a game.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be wide open.
I mean, as we talk about the goalies are going to be important, but at the same time, this is going to be more about like making the key saves at the key times and making those like big momentum saves, like the Grand Tour save. To keep it 5-4 so you can come back.
Varlamov does make the crazy saves. He does.
Yeah, he does. And Smith, Varlamov has the ability. Smith too, though. I mean,
used to. I don't know if he still does.
This series could be the closest that we get to Flyers Penguins from a few years back. Offensively, it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch, and they're gonna skate it down. I mean, the one thing I think is people do have to remember is the Colorado is very much a one-line team, and one-line teams have a tough time in the playoffs. They just do. I mean, because at some point, you can shut down a one-line team. I mean, it's not always the case. Like last year, we didn't see it till the Stanley Cup Finals in Las Vegas with a one-line team. But
and the only thing that Jared Bednar could do to really adjust this is, I mean, and he did it when Colorado was struggling in the middle of the season, was break up the number one line and put McKinnon with other guys and put Rantanen and Landeskog with other guys and try to make yourself a two-line team, but it didn't work that well.
It's not going to work for them because that just never works for them.
Here's the weirdest thing. Calgary is close to signing a KHL goalie right now.
Right.
What is that about?
Right now, like that's interesting.
Right now.
But they can't play, obviously. So
I know, but it's just another thing where all of a sudden people are talking about it.
Unless he's a draft pick, he can't play.
No, he can't play, but it's the idea. It's just another distraction.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I think the feeling there is I mean, don't they have a couple of UFA's goalies there or what? One at least.
UFA.
Yeah, right. But it doesn't give you confidence as a fan.
Yeah, it does make you wonder a little bit. I mean, there must have been a little battle for that goalie because that's the only reason I can think of. They had to sign him because they don't want to do that. Here's the thing about the last 3 seasons with these teams. How many times do you think Colorado's won?
Once
in the last 3 years. So they're 1-8. So Calgary has 8 games, 8 wins.
But I think that circumstances have changed just because of their goaltending. Otherwise, we would pick Calgary in a landslide.
That one win was last year. This year, Calgary won all 3. And they haven't played since January 9th. So for what it's worth, that is a while ago. And Colorado's gotten better since then. Calgary's got maybe a little bit worse. I mean, Calgary doesn't win the division if San Jose doesn't fall apart. Remember that. That's like the other thing about this. Like as good as Calgary is, San Jose really, really, really had a horrible stretch. They should have won the division going away, and they didn't. So, so your picks are.
I had Calgary in 7.
Add in 6.
Yeah, I've got Calgary in 6. So
okay.
So going over to the Eastern Conference now. Let's start with the Islanders Penguins because this I think is the most difficult series to predict in the NHL playoffs, and a lot of people aren't feeling that way, but this is really tough.
I'm not feeling that way.
I'm not feeling it at all because honestly, well, okay.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I am, but you guys go first.
Okay. I don't still, after 82 games, by the New York Islanders. Okay, they had a great season. I'm still not a believer. The reason I'm not a believer has nothing to do with Barry Trotz, because he did a phenomenal job. It's nothing to do with the fact that they went from 31st overall in goals against to number 1. I don't think they score enough. And that you might be able to get away with that against a Carolina or against another team that is maybe challenged a little bit offensively, but you're going up against the Penguins, and it's Crosby, and it's Malkin,
right,
and it's Letang, and Matt Murray, if he's healthy, is a difference maker in goal. I think that they'll give the Penguins a tough time, but I can't look past the fact that the Penguins are the Penguins, and they have all that experience and all those Stanley Cup rings, and I think Pittsburgh will beat them in 6.
Yeah, I've got Pittsburgh in 6. Look, I think Lou Lamoriello did a nice job on the radio the other day saying in 2003 the Devils won all their games on the road. Yes, that was the Devils. They're a much better team. But they did do that, and I do think the Islanders do have a home ice advantage. There's no question, and I do think that crowd will be raucous. And I can see the Islanders winning this first game, but I still see them losing the series. The first game to me won't matter. It doesn't matter with Pittsburgh. They can go down 0-2 and win this series based on their experience, based on their centers down the middle. The Islanders are not going to match up well with their centers. They're just not.
I mean, that means Crosby against Anders Lee.
Yeah, that's a tough matchup for Anders Lee.
That is a tough matchup, but I don't know. Anders Lee is a pretty darn good defense.
I'm not saying he's not a good player, but I mean, when you're talking about a guy,
you're talking about Crosby against. I mean, it's not like you're talking about Crosby against a terrible player.
And the Islanders' number 2 center against Evgeny Malkin. That's tough.
Yeah. What if when Pittsburgh's at home and they match their top line against the Islanders' third pairing defense? How's that going to work out?
Yeah.
I'm just saying there's certain things
that is going to be the issue. But the one thing about this Islanders team that they do have, the system that they play is solid.
Systems are nice, Eck, okay? Systems are very nice, and you still have to have the players to pull them off, right? We talk about the 97 Detroit Red Wings with the left wing lock, and clearly the Flyers were the younger, stronger team. But go back and look at that roster. That roster is a lot better than this Islander roster. This Islanders team believes, no question about it. But when you get into the playoffs, it's more than just a system. You have to have the players that have been there, that have experienced it, that don't choke under pressure. These are all things that we don't know what this Trotz system will do with these players. It's an unknown right now.
And we know what Trotz will do because he did it last year with the Caps against the Penguins. He's going to have Clutterbuck, Cizikas, and Martin playing a regular shift, not a fourth line shift, but a regular shift. Yep. Guys like Boychuk, they will attempt to physically. Leo Komarov will get in people's kitchen. They will try to physically dominate the Penguins, and if they take penalties, the Penguins' power play will be a key in the series because I think they will make them pay. And if their power play doesn't work, then the Islanders will have the advantage of being able to, tax them physically and maybe wear a veteran team down. But I think that Pittsburgh will probably take advantage of it and win the series.
The other problem with this matchup is Pittsburgh's first 3 lines, the speed factor for the Islanders defense to keep up with. Like a guy like Ryan Pulock is a really nice young defenseman. He can't keep up with the foot speed of like a Jake Gensel. There's going to be some mismatches out there on the ice, and they're going to get some great chances. So Robin Lehner, I'm assuming Robin Lehner's the number 1, but Eck might disagree with me.
Sorry, number 1. Robin Lehner was way better against the Penguins this year than Thomas Greiss.
Okay, so you conceded that. That's good. I mean, at
least
this
particular series, yeah.
You're like that guy that never concedes the election until everybody knows what's happening.
You mean Al Gore?
Yeah.
With this particular series, yes. I mean, the Penguins have had Greiss's number. There's no 2 ways about that.
But Leonard will have to play the series of his life to win this series. He will.
Yeah, no, Leonard, and I don't know that Leonard's going to finish the series, but you're going to definitely start that way.
Oh my God.
Well, you are. No, but I mean, Russ, they were like 3 goals to separate these teams. These two goalies. I don't know the craziness of like the Leonard's so much better. Their save percentage was almost exactly the same. Their goals against was almost exactly the same.
I don't know if he's so much better. He's just better.
We'll see. I mean, I think Greiss has played more in the playoffs than Leonard, hasn't
he? He has. But I think at this point, it's a bigger advantage to have the bigger goalie. I could be wrong. But I also think that if you take Leonard out, I think Penguins would be happy. I think they'd be happier.
What was your pick, Ak?
All right. Well, you have to really look at last year. To me, the you definitely want to look at the Penguins Capitals series from last year because that Capitals team was good defensively, but not as good defensively as this Islanders team is. This Islanders team is, they won the Jennings by quite a bit. The Islanders team, they are really good defensively, and just you have to remember that. Now the Capitals kept the Penguins to 14 goals in 6 games last year, so just over 2. The key for the Islanders is absolutely getting to 3 goals. The Islanders record when they get 3 goals is ridiculous. As are most teams, but with the Islanders, it's absurd. Like when they 2 goals they lose, 3 goals they win. It's just pretty much straight ahead. And the good news for them is even though they don't have a lot of offense, they're playing the worst defensive team in the playoffs right now in the Pittsburgh Penguins. And they're playing. Now Matt Murray could stand on his head and change that around for sure. And he's done it before, but Matt Murray is going to have to be unbelievable for the Penguins to win this series. I think this is not the Penguins teams of the past that just turned it on. Like this is not that team at all. They haven't shown that ability. They damn near missed the playoffs. I mean, they came way closer than they should have to missing the playoffs. And so the reality is, I think this is. I have Islanders in 6, but I think that if it's all up to Matt Murray, if Matt Murray stands on his head. But the Islanders are going to dominate the series for the most part. That's how I see it.
Okay.
All right. Next up, Tampa Columbus. This is probably
we don't have to spend a lot of time on this.
We won't spend a lot of time on this. Let me say the one thing that I think, because what I like to do sometimes is how can Columbus win this? Okay, because obviously Tampa is going to be favored.
They can't. They can't.
Right.
I think Bobrovsky could steal them a game. Probably in Columbus. I don't think they'll sweep them. If Tampa goes 6 games in this, that'll be the upset rather than Columbus actually winning. And this is not a slag against Columbus.
No, this is a really bad. This is a bad draw for anyone. Yeah. Tampa's way better. I mean, this Tampa team is way better than anybody else.
Yeah, I just think they're up against a juggernaut, and I don't see them underestimating Columbus. So I'm going Tampa in 5.
The problem I see here is the Columbus defense against the Tampa offense. Tampa rolls 4 lines. They just keep coming at you in waves.
Yeah.
I don't really know the health of Zach Werenski. He's going to play. If Zach Werenski is not Zach Werenski, they might get swept.
And Ryan Murray, I think Ryan Murray is hurt as well. So
yes, I mean this is a major problem for their defense, and John Tortorella is going to have to pull a few rabbits out of the hat. Look, Duchesne, Dzingel, Panarin. They all have to score. I mean, it can't just be Panarin. But at the end of the day, it's probably going to be about how many goals they give up. And I can't put it all on Bob because he needs to have a decent defense in front of him. And right now, apart from Seth Jones, if Murray and Werenski are not 100%, it could get uglier. I have Columbus losing in 5, but they could get swept.
I have Columbus losing in 5 as well. But here's the only way I see them winning it. They're gonna. There's 2 things that have to happen.
Plane crashes. That's
no. There's 2 things that have to happen. One, you have to jump on them early and win these first 2 games in Tampa and put Tampa in a situation where the regular season is going to be a problem for them. Like right now, the regular season momentum is good, but if they fall down by 2 games, the regular season becomes a problem because then everyone's going to be saying, "Oh, you have this really huge disappointment possible here. One of the greatest seasons ever, and you're going to choke in the first round." You got to turn the regular season against them. And that the only way they can do that is by winning, I think, not just the first game, but the first 2 games. If they win the first game, I could still see Tampa winning in 5 if Columbus won game 1. But I think, and I could see, I will go out on a limb and I say Columbus will win tonight. They will win game 1.
Well, okay. The only thing, if Columbus wins,
hold on, I got breaking news.
Go ahead.
So Ryan Murray is not with the team.
Okay.
Yeah, he's upstairs hanging out with my family.
So this is the big problem. They're going into Tampa. They're probably coming out of Tampa 0-2.
Yeah, if Columbus wins game 1, that's synonymous with Tampa sleepwalking into that series.
Right. No,
and the odds of them winning game 2 after getting that kind of wake up call are astronomical. So here's
the thing right now: the pressure has been on Columbus intensely, like unbelievably intensely since the trade deadline. They make those moves and they almost miss the playoffs. If they make those moves and miss the playoffs, that is just the biggest disappointment ever, right? They make those moves to simply make the playoffs. Really, honestly, that's what they do.
Oh, here, get this. Adam McQuaid's not available either.
All right.
So that means what? Dean Kukin is going to play, or
Adam
I'm all
Clendenning.
about Kukin. I think he's
Adam
good.
Clendenning and Scott Harrington? My goodness, yeah.
All right, but and Tampa in the meanwhile has
There's
had
not
no
a whole lot of butts left, Ed.
Tampa's
Yeah.
had no pressure in the regular season. So
Let's
tonight, what happens?
move on.
What happens? I know we're gonna move on. Columbus. They will. There's two things that happen when a team like works like hell to get into the playoffs. They either collapse in the first round like terribly, like they just
Right.
exhausted, or they win the first couple games. That's and the other thing is you cannot discount. The final thing I'll say, you cannot discount the Russian thing with Bobrovsky's competitiveness with Vasilevsky. That is a possible thing that you want Bobrovsky to be pissed off that that Vasilevsky.
John Cooper might just say faux faux faux. He might.
Okay, maybe. All right, moving on.
You know what that is, Zach?
I know what Fofo is. Maurice.
4-4.
Yeah, like the NBA, the 76ers. I got it.
Yeah. Okay.
I do follow some sports. Saying. All right.
Moses Malone said that. Yeah.
What? Yeah. I was saying Maurice Cheeks. Close enough. All right. No, I know this.
Lionel Hollins.
Now, Carolina, Washington.
George
All right.
McGinnis.
Washington, Carolina. We have 2 to go.
World be free.
Washington.
This in my mind is a series close to Tampa Columbus in terms of I think Carolina has little chance. I'm not taking away anything away from their regular season. Them getting to the playoffs was a victory for Dundon and that organization. But we're talking about Washington. We're talking about the incumbent Stanley Cup champions. They played really well since after the All-Star break. I think they got past that Stanley Cup hangover. They've lost had some injuries on the blue line. Losing Kempney was a blow. It sort of neutralized what they did by getting Jensen, but I still think I think the only team that has a chance to beat Tampa in the East is Washington. So I think I picked Washington in 5 because I think that Carolina will give them a tough time, but I think Carolina is not ready to take on a juggernaut like the Caps. So Caps in 5.
Yeah, there won't be any holes in Braden Holtby's levy. I think they'll manage the storm surge just fine. I think that
no storm surge in the playoffs. None.
I know. There won't be because there may not be many wins either. That's another reason, Mike.
There's no storm surge in the playoffs?
They said they're not doing it.
Yeah.
Why would they not do it?
I was using that for other reasons, Mike, and you tried to ruin it. Anyhow.
Why would they not do it?
Because they
playoffs, because that kind of crap comes back to bite you.
Right.
Go ahead.
Getting back to the Caps, the biggest problem for Carolina will be is Evgeny Kuznetsov.
Yes.
You could stop a couple of the Caps. If you could control Ovechkin to the point where maybe he only has 3 goals in the series, you might be able to control TJ Oshie offensively, but he's still going to be very physical. He's been very physical the last couple of years, and he will beat up guys. But you can't control Evgeny Kuznetsov. He is the one guy when everybody's – and Verana's another one who's sort of now taking on that moniker too, where, all right, you start controlling some of these other guys, you've forgotten about them, or you just can't do anything about them because you don't have enough defensemen on the ice. I just think Carolina is going to come up short defensively. They're good defensively, don't get me wrong. I think the Capitals will wear them out. I think that's what will happen. And I'm going Caps in 6 because I do think Carolina is coached very well by Brendan Moore, and he will get the most out of these players. But again, I think the Carolina goaltending will eventually be too weak to handle the Capitals because they're just too smart. They've been here. They're not worried. They're not really injured. Yes, Kempney's injured, but you take that aside, their offense is still the same. Yeah. It's maybe better, and they won the Stanley Cup last year.
I think this series is a great matchup for the Capitals. I think this is the team they wanted to play. Honestly, this is better than Columbus for them. This is better than the Islanders would have been for them. This is the perfect matchup because this is a team with a lot of similarities to actually Vegas from last year. They're fast, small, and they are riding a wave, but the Caps will be able to beat that. I agree with you. I think it's going to go 7 games. I think they're going to get a scare. I'm with you too, Russ. Like they're going to give them a little bit of a scare. Sure. This is going to be scary, but I think that
Sebastian Aho can win you a game. Like there's no question in my mind that could happen. And I don't know if I could even say Peter Mrazek will steal you a game. I don't think that would be the case. But look, the Caps could lose an overtime game.
Here's my weird prediction about this series: the Caps will be down 3-1 in the series, but win.
Come on.
I'm just telling you, that's what's gonna happen.
Okay.
That's what's gonna happen.
Thank you, Captain Contrarian.
No, they're going to win it. They said they're going to win it. They're going to win it in 7.
Okay.
But they're going to be down 3-1. There's going to be there's going to be one series like that you're going to have like that. Someone
You realize now when they're not, the minute that they're not, you will start to get texts. Like,
oh, I know. I do this. Believe me, I don't do this for fun.
Thank God I have an unlimited text plan for the next.
You want this, like you
no, I hate it.
Bring this
I do it
upon
because
yourself.
because I'm right. That's right. All right. Finally, the last series.
By the way, are these your picks or what the computer is telling you? You know, your program.
There's no computer in the playoffs. This is all me.
Okay.
All right.
It's the Hell 9000.
This series, we've talked about this one a lot already, so I'm going to start. Okay, because we've heard Mike's opinion plenty on this, and we're going to hear more about it. But I'm going to start and tell you that the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to win the series, hands down, going to win the series, and that this is the biggest, crazy. This of all the series in the Stanley Cup playoffs, the one I am most confident about, and it's not because I like Toronto. Even it's just I feel like when this feels so familiar to me, being a hockey fan for all these years, that when teams are actually this close to each other in the standings. When they're actually when you're looking at a Toronto team that won 7 against this team last year without John Tavares, with questionable goaltending, they played them tight. I know they lost them 3 times this year in the regular season. I don't even care about that. The fact that everybody's picking against them is the best thing that could happen to the Maple Leafs. And the pressure is all on Boston. This is classic NHL stuff. This is classically that. So I'm going with the Maple Leafs in 5 here.
Oh my goodness! First of all, the pressure is not all on the Bruins. The pressure in Toronto is squarely on the Leafs, squarely on Mike Babcock. He is under the most pressure that he's probably been in his professional career this year. It's like justifying the $6.5 million salary. Now you've been given Tavares. Now you have Matthews, Tavares, and Kadri, and it's like put up or shut up. Show me why why we went after you and why you're purportedly the best head coach in the NHL. I think that. The only hope for the Leafs, the reason they signed Tavares is because you have that 1-2 punch with Matthews. Yeah. Your forwards are deep and talented. You're going to need Nazem Kadri if you take the premise that Bergeron and Krejci neutralize or are even with Tavares and Matthews, that you need Nazem Kadri to step off offensively. Now, I think that Matthews and Tavares have to beat out Bergeron and Krejci for them to have a chance in the series. I don't know if that's possible because Bergeron, to my mind, is the best postseason center next to Sidney Crosby. He rises the occasion. He scores. He shuts down other teams' offensive.
Oh, he's amazing. He's amazing in the playoffs.
Amazing player. And the Leafs had no ability to stop that top line of Pasternak, Marchand, and Bergeron last year. This is a contest of contrasting styles. The Bruins will try to run the Leafs out of the building, especially in Boston in the first 2 games. In 2013 and last year, Boston walloped the Leafs at home and put them down 2-0 in both series. I think
Boston, great that it's starting in Boston.
What's that?
It's great that the series starts in Boston for the Leafs.
Not for the Leafs. It's not because they can't. Because the only time they've won in Boston over 14 playoff games over the last 6 years. The only 2 times they've won in Boston is when their goaltender was superhuman. Reimer in 2013 and Freddie Anderson in Game 5 last year. When he was subpar or average, they got destroyed.
But all that is before, you had Mitch Marner to this development, before Matthews was developed this far, before you got Tavares, before you had Muzzin on defense. They've done everything they've done to beat the Boston Bruins. Everything they have done has been designed to that. I'm not saying they've done enough yet. They still need to be tougher. The Bruins are definitely physically tougher. The Bruins will bother them physically, but the Bruins will be chasing them. Well, that's the thing we have to remember.
And that's the thing. I think the moves we'll get Russ's input on this. I think the moves that the Leafs have made were made in the the construct of what Kyle Dubas wants to make the Leafs into, which is a highly skilled team, and that can win, but it wasn't to beat Boston, because if it was to beat Boston, they would have improved their defense significantly, which they really didn't do. I think Muzzins was a good ad, but they never played him on the right side, which is their weak spot, once this year. So all they did was add to the side of their defense, which was already good, and their right side is extremely weak. And they really, they didn't add any veteran forwards at the deadline to help them. The fourth line is, I think, in terms of a matchup, and fourth lines usually don't make any difference, but in this series, Boston always, their fourth line is always a difference maker. Now,
Sean Corrali's really good.
Sean Corrali's out to start the series, but
so that's actually another big loss, because he's been really good.
Yeah, so he's out. I know that John Moore and Kevin Miller are out for the Bruins, but you have to counteract that with Jake Gardiner being basically a 60% of his former self with a back problem. And they're going to probably try to baby him through. And we know the Bruins are going to be hitting them like crazy, and they'll target Gardiner. Not saying they'll hit him illegally, but they'll try to wear him down, because I don't know how good his back is. I just think the matchup is terrible for the Leafs. It's not only contrasting styles, it's getting over a psychological problem with the Bruins. The Bruins may already have them psyched out, and I don't see a way that the Leafs beat the Bruins. I have Boston in 6. I would like to be pleasantly surprised. I'm not expecting it.
You're giving a lot of credit to the Bruins goaltending, which is not the greatest.
I know, but
prior to it, the goaltending's not at the top of the game.
Yeah, but you've got more offense hitting the Bruins than you have hitting the Leafs. You have the one line, granted, but you have more offense overall hitting the Bruins.
Both Rask and Anderson struggled in the last month, but the one thing you can say about the Bruins is they have a plan B, which is Halak, who was.
Well, no, there's no question that the Leafs should have gotten a plan B together. But as long as Anderson stays healthy.
All right, so here's what I think will happen. So originally, I had Boston in 5, but now Boston's got problems with their third pairing. Steve Kampfer may be playing, which is crazy. Clifton's going to play. Clifton, it does have a physical edge to him, so and he can skate all right. But Boston's probably going to have to roll with those 4D like Chicago did, which I think they can do against the Leafs. But I think what's going to happen is I think Boston will be chasing the play half the time. I do, because of the Leafs' speed. I think having Tavares is massive. I think Matthews will be terrific. But at the end of the day, I could see the Leafs being that team with all the scoring chances,
right, dominating
the game. Some Nimrod's going to tell me online that the Leafs are out shooting Boston 20-10, but Boston's up in this game 2-1.
Yep.
Patrice Bergeron is the biggest difference maker for both teams.
Yeah.
That is the reality of this series. There's all kinds of other guys. Look, Chara is not going to hurt Boston. He's going to help them with their experience and just the strength that he still has. He does surprise you, but his play against the wall, he can still stop the puck and stop you from getting into the zone. The Charlie McAvoy effect, now where he is at as a player, will be big. And look, Morgan Riley's big too. I mean, obviously Morgan Riley's a great player, but Anderson's running on fumes. The Boston tandem is stronger. Boston is a very good team. I don't see the Leafs coming out of that first game with a win. I actually think Boston will go up 1-0 fairly quick in this game because the Leafs defense isn't that great. And I think the Cassidy will probably match up something like the third line. He'll probably go something with like the third line first, put him out for 20 seconds, roll his first line against the Leafs' bad pairing. Yeah. And I could see that not going well. Something like that could happen. The Leafs, after you get past 3 defensemen, are pretty weak. And Ron Hainsey on the top pairing is going to get exposed here.
Yeah, and also
Boston in 6.
The Bruins on their second line are playing a rookie, Carson Kuhlman, instead of David Backes. That's probably to start the series because Kuhlman is a quick forward and Backes is.
Yeah, they're trying to. They're doing everything they can to match the Leafs' speed.
Right.
You guys, no, it's impossible to disagree, Russ, that Bergeron isn't like always the key to to everything. I mean, he's as good as it gets both directions, but the thing that's being so downplayed in this, but I hear people talking about this, is the fact of how good John Tavares has the potential of being in this series. Like John Tavares, when he was with the Islanders in the one playoff series he actually, played in, was really good.
Yeah, I said he would be great. I don't know how I can go any greater.
Yeah, no, you're right. But I honestly think that Tavares, the energy that Tavares has to have, we got to remember all the years he sat there not making the playoffs of the Islanders, and then they made it and they went running. The energy he's going to show is going to be similar to the energy that you saw at the beginning of the year with Toronto, where he was completely ridiculous. And that could carry them through this series. I mean, he is the counteract. And the thing that the Bruins do really well is their best scoring line is also really good defensively, right? So the issue is that line is so good defensively, and that worked well against Toronto when Toronto was a one-line team. But Toronto being a two-line team is going to be a totally different story.
The problem is that the Bruins, and they did it in the 4 regular season games, play suffocating defense, and the Leafs skill players get completely frustrated, and you could see that. And even Babcock talked about it on Monday when I was up there for practice. He was basically saying, we had fun all during the regular season. Our jerseys were flapping all over the place, and we scored a ton of goals, and now it's time to get to work. Well, that's the point. You didn't work on your two-way game the entire regular season, and now you expect to flip a switch and you're going to all of a sudden be this great two-way team. It doesn't work that way. The team that paid the dues in 82 games was the Boston Bruins. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know how the Leafs play a two-way game and win this series.
Jerkball T.O. in the chat room said I brought up the most irritating scenario possible, but I do see it. I do see it going that way. I mean, I do. The other thing is Cousin Eddie doesn't even believe the Leafs will win. Like, if you don't have Cousin Eddie on there, I mean, it's over.
Heck, I was up in Toronto on Monday, and I'll tell you this: everybody,
and I love it.
Everyone is picking Boston.
Every time that, have you guys not been watching NHL hockey for 50 years like I have? I mean, it's like every time that happens, it doesn't go that way. Like whenever you get a completely everyone saying that this is gonna, it's just. And yeah, I know Krejci. I'm Bill in the chat room says I've heard of David Krejci. Krejci's had a hell of a year this year. But Krejci is always an injury waiting to happen in my mind.
I hope you're right. I really do.
Yeah, remember the series? Hold on, Nick. Remember the series when the Flyers came back and won the 4 games to beat Boston? Krejci was a superstar in that series. If that Krejci shows up in this series, the Leafs are in trouble.
Krejci was great in that series, but didn't he go down in that series?
That was the he got hurt.
That was the turning point where Mike.
He did get hurt.
Mike Richards took him out at center in a center ice check, and he was done. Right. And that was in game that was going to be this week. That was the 4th game.
He did get hurt.
The problem with the Leafs is they have nobody on their team. They don't have their version of Mike Richards. Nazem Kadri steps one step out of bounds, he gets suspended again.
I don't know. I think Kadri's learned how to not get suspended.
Well, no, I'm just saying that Kadri can go overboard sometimes. They need Kadri to be a pain in the ass. They need him to be an antagonist. They don't have other than him and Zach Hyman. Those are the only guys who stir the pot on the Leafs. The Bruins have a lineup of like 15 guys who do that. So and that's going to all the Leafs will be doing is turning the other cheek and trying to get power plays. That doesn't work.
There's lots of reasons that either team could lose a series. Leafs goaltending could fall apart on them. That's for sure. But I think that at the end of the day, there's just so much offense, and either one of these teams is going to have a real hard time against Tampa for sure. I mean, Tampa's going to be tough for either of these teams to play, as Tampa's going to be for anybody. But Boston and Tampa are the 2 best records in the NHL. So I mean, we could see that in the second round. I mean, anything's possible here, but as it plays out, this is going to be. I mean, I just think it's going to be a hell of a series. I think it's going to be the best series to watch by far. Toronto, Boston, and because it's funny because I'm not as excited about these playoff matchups as I usually am. There's certain matchups I would have liked to have seen go different ways. A couple years I've been really excited about them. I don't know. These are okay. There's a couple like San Jose, Vegas is a good one. But some of these are just kind of iffy. I think the Pittsburgh and the Islanders.
I think that Jets Blues series is anything but iffy. I think.
Yeah, that's a great one too.
I think the best matchups are the 2-3s.
They tend to be the 2-3 anyway. But I think that even goes to the Islanders and Penguins. I think
the Penguins and Islanders will be the most watched in the United States because Islander fans are so rabid about wanting to beat the Penguins, calling Crosby every name in the book. everything else in the world that they just believe that they're going to win that series. So every Islander fan that's ever been an Islander fan will tune into that one. And then they're probably going to feel like every other fan that's gone up against the Pittsburgh Penguins in early rounds in the playoffs and lose.
Yeah.
Russ,
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for the patrons at Nassau Coliseum to chant the name of Steve Webb and then realize that he hasn't played in over a decade.
Man. On that note, okay, so that's it. There's all of your playoff rounds. That's exactly what's going to happen in the first
Hold
round.
on, Queen wants to know why this is Kadri's last kick at the can. Did someone say that?
Somebody said it was his last kick. It's not. I mean, Kadri's got a very friendly contract, and they're not going to trade him. He's making $4.5 million for another 2 or 3 years. So no, it's not. I don't know where that's coming
They
from.
may have to trade him when they match Marner's contract, but besides that, yeah.
No,
all the offer sheets are going to roll in this summer. Kyle Dubas is going to have 3 offer sheets with Mitch Marner.
That will be William Nylander, and I was up in Toronto on Monday and at an event and Brian Burke was there, and Brian Burke said Nylander will be traded, and I've been of that belief since December, and I will not come off of that. So we will see. I
don't disagree with that. I think that's happened. Because I do think Marner's got like a 50% chance of getting an offer sheet. Actually,
he does not want to play.
I know he doesn't want to play anywhere, but Toronto knows that they're going to match. So if you're going to, you can still.
No, Toronto will not lowball him. He puts the team that he wants to stay with in a bad position if he takes an offer sheet.
Can I ask a question? I mean, again, if I'm a team out there and I know Toronto's matching, other than I'm going to maybe get them to trade another player, big deal. They've got a loaded system. Jeremy Bracco can come up. Yep. Why in the world am I wasting my time thinking the Leafs won't match this?
Yeah, if you want to put them in cap jail, fine. They're one of the few teams that can buy themselves out of cap jail.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying that
there's zero chance that they don't match it. That's the funny thing about this.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's zero chance they don't match it. I do.
Look at the commercial that Apple just put out in Canada with Marner and Matthews hanging out with each other. These guys, one of these guys is not taking an offer sheet to go play in Detroit.
Yeah.
Marner will sign a deal before July 1st. The offer sheet won't happen. Maybe there'll be an offer sheet for Sebastian Aho or Kyle Connor or somebody like that. Mitch Marner will not sign an offer sheet. My prediction.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see, guys. All right. That is all we have to talk about today. We're good. So enjoy the games tonight, guys. There's nothing better. I mean, the next 2 weeks to me are my favorite 2 weeks of the NHL season. The first round is the best, by far. It's the greatest stuff. Be prepared to stay up late. There's 10:30 games tonight. It's like, make sure you have lots of drinks.
I'm not going tonight because I got to drive to Buffalo tomorrow, so that won't happen.
Right? Yeah.
I'm taking a
on hand here, and I'm ready to go. So I heard you guys were talking about soda before the show, huh?
Well, what we were talking about is how we could live in the same state, and by me they would call it soda, and by Mike they would call it pop. Now I get there's 8 hours between us, or 8.5 when I lived on the island, but still I don't get the difference there. Like it's so
pop is like, it's not that you live in Buffalo if you say pop, it's that you like live on the set of Happy Days if you say pop. Like to me that's like like, what is pop? That's like literally,
There was a store here that sold full generic soda that was called Pop Shop.
Hey, what's the other thing? The other thing I've noticed in Buffalo that they have is the when something is to go. What do they say when something is to go up there?
What's that? Say that again.
If you want something to go, what do you say in Buffalo?
Takeout.
Takeout. I always heard the do you want a sack? Right? That's like a question.
Never. I've never
heard that.
Never heard that unless you were going to Bruce Smith's house.
And if I did hear that, if I was parked somewhere, I'd roll up the window.
Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. If you want a sack, see us tomorrow.